Greetings, heroes and Force users of all ages, and welcome back to Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. As always, I'm Dino Nicandros, and I'm joined by Alyssa Simmons.
Hello.
And Daniel Dawson.
Hello there.
And today we are talking episode 1 of Moon Knight, The Goldfish Problem, directed by Mohammed Diab, written by Jeremy Slater, and by God, we're Marvel fans.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.
That was different.
Are indeed Marvel fans.
That was the most different Marvel thing I think we've ever seen.
Potentially.
And we keep saying that.
I know, isn't that fun?
In the MCU, for sure. I mean, they're getting more freedom with the Disney Plus series.
Mhm.
And that's real fun.
Already, I'd have to go back through my notes, but I think that this is we've already seen like more blood in this show than we've seen in like all of the MCU,
It's close. I mean, just the
and-
shot of him when he has the scarab in his
scarab.
hand.
I know. I was like,
Like, did you reach through somebody to get that?
like ripped through their throat? Like somebody like tried to swallow it or something.
My God.
Why is there so much blood? Also, when he like pops his jaw back into place, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
Ow!
ow.
Ouch, though.
No, they've leaned into horror, and in our lead up to this discussion we're having today, we've talked about how Marvel is now setting the stage for the more supernatural stuff.
They've definitely done a very good job of paving the way. It was a very like it was a good transition. It wasn't like super abrupt. It felt very like you could see the progression.
Well, if you're looking for a blueprint for Blade, and if they decide to redo Punisher, or I mean,
Right.
this is heading that direction. And
still done in a way too, like, you know, and we'll talk about this when he like blacks out and wakes up with all of the violence around him.
yes,
It's still kind of done in a way that it is not gonna be too much of a problem for Disney, you know?
Yeah.
I think that is a really great way to
Not a
do
problem
that,
like Morbius.
Oh,
I can't confirm. Haven't seen it.
I haven't
Let's move
seen
on.
it yet.
I also have not seen it, but it's
So
hard to
we can't
deny
really-
the 15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's not great, but we haven't seen it, so we can't say our opinions.
But we
on
probably
the
will talk
matter.
about it at some point.
But yet we have them.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, if Jared Leto's performance was anything like one of the Luigi brothers that he played in House of Gucci,
Oh my God.
And
I'll
my
have feelings.
like, again, haven't seen it. My frustration comes from what I've read about the post-credit sequences and what they
sure.
suggest.
Yeah, and
So,
we'll definanyhow get into all that.
Anyway, Morbius should be in Moonlight. No, I'm not. I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Anyhow, so I guess let's just go and talk like first impressions.
What do
like,
you think? I'll tell you what I thought.
I think Oscar Isaac.
I love him so much.
and
He's my boyfriend.
This is just a very tiny sample size, but I feel like the potential there for his character might vault him into the maybe the top tier of performances in the MCU. And he's not there yet, but just the character dynamic, the disassociative disorder, and all of that is brought beautifully to life because this is an actor specifically who does his homework.
Yeah,
he's
I was
very
literally
nuanced.
thinking that. I was like, this guy like learned all of these different dialects and just mannerisms, and
he's one of the more talented people the MCU I think has gotten their hands on, and
he's got
I'm
chops.
excited to.
That's what we say in the biz. He's got the chops.
Some of us say that, yes.
I don't.
Those
say
of us
that.
who were born after 1980 say that.
Right.
Do not say that.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think he's great, and just right off the bat, it's just such a different like protagonist, even if you're gonna call him that. Like,
Sure.
it's such a different character for us to be following right off the bat. This like base character of this very like kind of timid and just a run of the mill guy who thinks he's got some sleeping problems. And
but also interesting that they started with Stephen Grant and him being like this guy as opposed to like the millionaire, like, which
I think having seen it, we knew that was going to be the case, but having now seen it and having read about Mark Spector as being the prime personality, I think this is a wiser choice because you can relate to this guy. He is automatically sympathetic just from circumstance.
Yeah, you get like an origin story without having to do like a real origin story because like he's already.
You understand what's going on. Like his life
find
sucks.
out the origin, kind of like all of it. He is the audience,
right?
Figuring it out.
Yeah. I love that they put him as like a gift shop person in the
British Museum.
In a museum,
and
that's great.
Douchey boss.
Donna.
Fucking Donna. Damn it.
She's the MVP of the episode.
It's so rude. I was like, okay, Donna, jeez,
lay off him.
And popping the gum was a wise choice. Was a wise acting choice because we all know that person who pops the gum and talks from like the front of their mouth. Go to hell, Donna.
Yeah, honestly, the
I
episode
think my dog
started...
finally finished their chew because she is not pleased.
Calm down, Maggie.
It's
You're
like
fine.
It's gonna be fine, Maggie. You're gonna be fine. It's just gonna be a little bit.
Anyway. The episode started, with the Bob Dylan song. Every Grain of Sand, which is kind of about spirituality and the mystical realm. And I was like, what is happening with the glass? And now the glass is going in the shoes. And oh my, like the episode for me started out on this like, what is actually going on? And it felt so weird. And I felt
dope in this part, I think.
Yeah, and he's obviously like having the time of his life.
We know everything we need to know about Arthur Harrow.
Oh, yeah, immediately. Already. Which is like,
I mean, well, potentially.
Brilliant.
And we'll get into it later, but like I am curious about a lot of things in this show.
Well, yeah, that would be weird if you weren't.
Yeah, actually, nah, I didn't think about anything.
It all makes complete sense.
Yeah, everything makes sense. I know exactly how it's gonna end. Oh man, I think my first impression was just like, I guess it's just Oscar Isaac's performance because I got so sad for his character. I was like, first of all, it must be so exhausting to be Mark, I guess Stephen Grant, because like, first of all, his work life is pretty poopy, and then like he has no idea what's happening. He keeps like waking up and like the things. I mean, he had to sleep with the freaking buckle on his leg, and then like his dating life. Oh my god, that scene like actually got me teary-eyed. I was like, his like, knowing that he's a vegan and then he's gonna like order steak anyway. He has no idea how to order it, and it's so sad. It's so sad. I think he played that so well because it just got me all emotional.
Yeah, that was a great scene, and just the you were talking about it, the monotony of putting the tape on the door, chaining himself to putting the sand around the bed to soften the landing when he comes flying out of bed.
I mean, we all have a routine, of course.
Yes. I wash my face and brush my teeth, but he ties himself to his bed.
Sand, tape, tie.
And talks to his imaginary mother. Can we talk about that?
I don't think she's imaginary.
Okay, that's fair. I was going to ask you if you guys thought like if she was like for reals or not.
But that's a core. Speaking of questions, that's a core question of this entire episode, and the series is going to have to answer in general is what the hell is real and what is
what's
not.
real.
Yeah,
and we've learned from like WandaVision and Loki to an extent, just don't believe everything your eyes are telling you.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
on first go around. I think his mom is real, but there were other things that were
not as real.
Like talking to the
talking to the statue guy.
Yep.
Or not statue. Don't know if that was a
Oh,
person.
it's a person that like is just not talking.
Yeah, it's a street performer, like a robot situation.
Yeah. That being said, though,
but it makes you question though, because there's like, is he telling these people to tip a statue right now? Like, it's possible.
Yeah, we could like watch that scene from a different perspective, and it's like just an actual statue. Yeah.
I also so going back to what I was saying about Ethan Hawke's character, like we kind of said that like, we kind of already need all we need to know about him, but like I think that there's still a lot to be learned and potentially.
Yes, what I mean by that is what type of person this is.
Yes.
Like,
at least what the way that we are seeing him through. That's the thing, is that like this is a very like untrustworthy narrator. we have a narrator that like we are seeing the show through the eyes of this character that like is potentially not seeing reality the way that we see reality. So I'm curious whether or not like Ethan Hawke's character like evolves into something else as like the reality of like the actual reality becomes more real. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's revealed to be like more than what we thought he was originally.
Oh yes.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
sure.
totally. Like I have 1,000 questions about like what he's capable of.
Yeah, or his like maybe even his real identity.
But opening up with him, his daily routine, filling his shoes full of glass and going for a walk.
Yeah.
This is a zealot.
Yeah.
And you know that immediately, and everything that comes with that. Now,
well, the fact that he puts it in his shoes too is interesting, because like he's not doing it like to like show off and like
it's ritualistic.
It's for him.
No, it's
that he believes it.
Well, it's the whole process, which was also beautifully shot, where he puts the glass down on the napkin, smashes the napkin, the way he unfolds it. It's very meticulous, and this is a man of discipline and just very spooky.
Spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very exciting.
Cult leaders that actually believe in what they're preaching are much scarier than those who are just like obviously wanting to make money and you know.
We say it almost every episode. The scariest villains are the ones who really believe what they're saying. Put that in Thanos in that category.
Oh, I've seen like already like people that are comparing this character to Thanos, and not in the sense like they're obviously very different, but because like Thanos was like
the impartial weighing of destiny, like it's blind judgment.
Yep, right.
Don't
Thanos
this isn't
does
personal.
like I don't care who it is, we're just getting rid of 50% of everybody. But this guy is like no, we're gonna be like really specific about it, and we're getting rid of, and they're basically doing like it's like Egyptian version of Minority Report.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
judging before
things have happened.
Well, and you know what? And it's not remote. I'm not making a connection here. It's just a fun parallel. I was thinking back to Captain America: Winter Soldier, when when Nick Fury is taking Steve on the tour of the new Shield facility in Washington D.C., and they have all the helicarriers, and Samuel Jackson's explaining that we can identify. We have an algorithm, which turns out to be Zola's algorithm, that figures out what people are capable of before they do it. And Steve remarks, I thought the punishment came after the crime. and Nick Fury says something to the effect of, we can't afford to wait that long. And so that's kind of this is an interesting twisted
version
recall of that. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, because then it's I mean, it's so just kind of made me think about it, but like we've got like Kang, who is sort of like not placing judgment, but being like, you know, well, but yeah, sort of placing judgment like on all the different variants of like the timeline, you know, and being like, nope, that's not the right one. Nope, you're not the right one, and taking people away.
Yeah, it's not personal. It's like this is all of this is far bigger than you.
Right.
note.
It feels like we have like a few people that are in power that are like that maybe that's sort of like the phase 4 like thing is that we have these like judgers.
Yeah, for sure.
Judges.
Yeah, we get an interesting scene, which is some helpful exposition with Arthur, Harrow, and Stephen in the museum, where he is sort of explaining why he needs that. Is it an amulet? What is
it's
it?
a scarab.
It's a scarab beetle,
Scarab,
but yeah,
yes.
it looks like something is inside of it.
Yeah,
like
no doubt.
Yeah, so
could be an amulet.
We've all seen the Mummy. We know what happens.
yeah, so he essentially
vibes.
he explains to him that the goddess Amit, that it belongs to her, and
Yes, strong woman. Yes.
She's sick of waiting for some event to happen to awaken her, essentially.
Like she doesn't want to wait for another Hitler. She's going to take the baby Hitler out.
Right. So she's working through Harrow and these cult leaders.
So
he believes.
Yeah, no, I'm curious too because
That's the thing.
he talked. No, it's okay. He talked about how she had an avatar and that avatar, what do you call it? Basically did something that she didn't want. Do we think that he's the new avatar or he's just like, working for her? I
don't think that he's the new avatar.
Okay. I mean, I'm not sure, honestly. I really don't know. I'm just curious what you guys thought.
Yeah, because the way that he explained the like judgment process with the cane and the scales, is that he was working, she was working through him, but like only at a portion of her power.
Yeah,
right.
So, I mean, I guess they could go the direction and have him be her, but
like the new avatar.
Yeah.
Well, it's curious. It's like, how did he get the tattoo? How did he get that power in the first place?
Yeah. Well, and all of those cult people had the tattoo.
Right.
I don't know if you noticed that.
No, totally. I mean, assumingly it's more just like
the scene in the Alps, like all of those cult people had...
Which was like such a random. Did we even see the? I don't remember. Like, did we see that in the trailers? That like that sort of setting, because that was such a like a whoa. Where are we? This is such a random.
We'll go back to that in a moment.
Yeah.
But so on this point, I was initially questioning, are Khonshu and Amit, actually at work here, or is this just kind of a facade for something else? And I've settled on that they do in fact exist, and my rationale is simply because the gods exist in Thor. And
sure.
So like Amit and Khonshu are part of the Egyptian canon of gods. So like the Norse gods, Thor, Odin, like these were all based on real myth. And so I do think Khonshu and Amit are real. How they are working through these people is unclear.
Yeah, I think.
And where do they exist? Like what planet?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of sort of paralleling it within the MCU. Because there's a moment in this episode where Steven is upset about the posters on the outside of the museum because they're not showing all of the like super group of Egyptian gods. The Ennead is what they're called.
Yep.
And it's generally a group of 9. Horus isn't always included, and in the comics, these Egyptian beings come from a pocket dimension, which we chatted about briefly in the last episode. And
that's the way that they explain it in the Marvel
Those pocket
universe.
Dimensions are essentially like Asgardians or Eternals.
Sure.
So they're
well, and also in the rings
in Shang-Chi.
Shang-Chi, yeah, they're the place that was like a pocket dimension that they were in.
Yeah. So I think that's a helpful way of thinking about that.
That that does help. Yeah.
The Egyptian mythology in Marvel
exists in like another dimension.
Yeah.
Like Dormammu.
Well, and another big question kind of going off of that.
Is Dormammu a god? Or he probably
he's a demon.
He's a demon, right?
Demon.
That's what they call him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a demon.
Great.
Maybe we need to do an episode just on
honestly,
vernacular.
Because we're Mephisto's on his way. You know, we're gonna.
But actually, yes.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Actually, it's coming.
But for reals this time.
Yeah, but for reals.
But actually, I mean, since Mephisto is kind of based on our perception of the devil.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've seen the Norse, we're going to see the ancient Egyptian gods. Do they go into the the three big ones? Do they mine characters for the three big religions?
Yeah,
we'll see. But a big question I have too is the nature of what is going on with Stephen and Mark, and is Stephen's dissociative disorder, is that real? Or is it simply a byproduct of Khonshu having gotten inside his body and
it's caused him to split, sort of.
And I'm not even sure that question makes sense right now, but that's just what's
that's
bouncing around in my head. Is
that's interesting.
What came first? And if it is the latter, that
we know how
Khonshu did this, like how and.
It sounds like it sounds like if he did it, it was like he didn't mean it to happen like that, because he's like, oh no, the idiot is in charge now.
Yeah, that's what's kind of puzzling is Khonshu is this god of immense power, and yet he doesn't have
ultimate
or hasn't
control
yet
over
just demonstrated the power to flip between the two of them.
Yeah,
and that ultimately Stephen has to surrender to Mark, which is an interesting dynamic. I'm giving you control.
You know what though? You I didn't really even think about this until now, but like, yeah, because he does seem to have some control over his body, because like when he was Stephen Grant and he's like in the Alps and like he's like giving the scare, but he's like, okay, take it, and then it like he couldn't open his hand. And like, which also
a great scene.
Really good,
so cool.
like such great physical acting, because it was so legit. It's like great mime work.
Yes,
he, assumedly like, Khonshu was doing that, making his body move,
or
Mark, I guess. Yeah, that's possible too.
I think I'm leaning Khonshu because the scarab belongs to Khonshu, and it's like, do not hand that.
Right, and he was very much like, you know, not narrating. He was like speaking to him that entire time. Like,
Stephen was trying to give it.
Yeah, and he's like, no, don't you do that. And then, so the fact that he does have some control over his body, but like not completely. I'm wondering if maybe like he doesn't have like well, I know that you talked, Alyssa, you talked about the phases of the moon too. So I think maybe it's if it's like, and it was like the daytime, so maybe he doesn't have, you know, his full powers.
Yeah, if they're going that route, I don't know if they're gonna do that.
Yeah, me neither.
But
because
it's certainly possible.
I did remember the night where we do finally get to see Moon Knight in all his glory at the end of the episode. It was like a crescent moon. It was like
it wasn't even like half. Full.
Yeah, it was like a DreamWorks moon.
Little fingernail clipping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, Dino, because like I guess for me, you know, I just keep going back to the backstory that we know of him from the comics,
right?
Which is in a different time period and everything, but like his DID is there prior to Khonshu resurrecting him.
Yeah, it was from a...
yeah, totally. Yeah.
But the idea of that this kind of might have developed post resurrection is really interesting. Like it's like Khonshu didn't expect this to happen,
like,
but
oh
like
no, what have I done?
but Stephen Grant's like as a body was like, okay, I'm able to still work for this like god, but like I have to become an altar.
Right.
Essentially, because like and granted, like, you know, my main understanding of DID is from United States of Terror, so it's from a television show, but you know, they essentially
it comes from trauma.
when certain things, the different altars develop as a mode of protection,
right,
to the main personality.
So that honestly, that would be a very believable trauma, you know, to start something like that. Like if I were to, you know, be contacted by an Egyptian god that basically was like, you're gonna now like kill for me, like I think I would probably, you know, maybe unknowingly potentially like create like some kind of mechanism to protect my heart from feeling those intense, you know, killy vibes. Yeah, that totally is believable.
But it was interesting to me the when finally Steven does, you know, completely surrender to giving Mark the body at the end of the episode.
Which was a really neat, like, that cinematography was dope.
Yeah, and from what I've like read about people who have DID, like that is a thing. Like oftentimes
where they talk to each other, basically.
Oftentimes they can feel inside a specific altar being like, I need the body right now.
Man.
What and it's based on, you know, any plethora of things, but it's usually
so exhausting, man.
Yeah, so it's like, so, you know, when he does ultimately surrender to him in that moment, like that is as he starts to become more cognitive, if he does even, of
Cognizant.
You know, these different personalities,
well, yeah, because it sounds like
is he gonna fight them harder? Like, is he going to say like, no, you're not allowed to come out? Like, and then will Khonshu come in? And like, that's just a whole added layer to a very, very challenging situation.
Yeah, it's oh, that's so fun. This show is going to be very confusing, and I love that very much.
Another passing thought I had on that, and I think this is the least likely scenario because it is important that this show is tackling dissociative identity disorder.
Yeah,
I think that is one of the main reasons of its existence, is because it's tackling a very interesting and a really interesting topic. But I wondered for a moment, just because we're in multiversal footing now and going forward.
Yep.
What if these were two different variants of the same person that somehow collided?
That's interesting.
Because of any one of the calamities that have
super interesting. Place. I mean, listen, now we're in the fucking multiverse of madness, and anything is possible. So
it's possible, but again, that was kind of a passing. That would be super
definitely a topic for a comic book at the very least.
But also that is an explanation for his condition, which I'm not sure that's what they're
characterize it as.
I'm not sure that's what they're going for, though. So I don't.
Right.
Because like an alter, you know, is more or less like a variant of yourself.
Yep.
You know. Yeah. So that is very, very interesting. But like a variant existing in the same universe, in the same timeline. Yeah. That's so. Oh, how interesting.
Yeah. I read an article that I feel like sort of perfectly wrapped up what it exactly is that this show is trying
wrapped up like a mummy. I'm just gonna go away now. Sorry.
I'll see myself out. They're sort of trying to accomplish three things with this series. Number one is, you know, we're getting a street level hero here, which we have not had in a while.
Right.
Two, we're delving into the Egyptian mythology with the character story. and 3, like we said, attempting to sort of study this mental health journey that this character is going on. So that's a heavy load. Yeah, it's a tall order.
Yeah.
It's a heavy load. Like those are 3 very
For 6 episodes.
For 6
that's a heavy
episodes.
load.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
a heavy load.
we only have 5 episodes left.
Yeah, it's it just has me really. I'm really hooked.
I'm curious
this
what you
first
think
episode has me really hooked.
What do you think the structure is going to be like? Do you feel like it's going to kind of continue with Stephen Grant being sort of the protagonist of the story, and we're going to kind of just see him like figure things out, and then we'll get like Mark, by the end it's like mostly Mark or something, or
I think,
or do you think we're gonna in the next episode we're gonna see Mark's point of view now, and then it's gonna be
that's quite possible. I do think it is helpful to have Steven as an anchor.
Yeah.
So audiences can latch on to something, which then allows you to bounce all over and see the different iterations of Moon Knight.
Right, because you do. I mean, this is the same person, but these are like different characters,
right,
with different
you have to view them differently.
Yeah, different motivations, different emotions,
well, and I think we're at least gonna, my prediction is that we're at least gonna get one more alter.
Yeah, oh yeah,
because
for sure,
in the comics there are 4, but the security guard who worked at the museum kept calling him Scott.
Oh right, yeah. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's Steven?
I don't know if that was just sort of like a misdirect, or if that in fact is a completely another alter that we haven't met yet.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
also,
I don't know. I think that the idea of like still keeping Steven as the base, who, to our knowledge, he is the base.
Yeah, that kind of does feel like what is gonna happen.
I also think episode 2, specifically this next episode, will fill in the giant gaps,
the 3-day gaps
of this episode, where even in the midst of the action sequences on the highway, how he even ended up in this nondescript European country, which is actually a European country. But,
yeah,
right.
But just the blanks in the blind spots in his consciousness, I think we're going to get to see all of that from a different perspective, which would be really cool, seeing Mark trying to wrestle control away from Steven while their life is threatened. It's like, just give me the wheel, give me the fucking wheel.
Yeah, because he seems to be super aware. Well, and it's you might even consider, let's think. So Steven wakes up after that whole event, the 3-day journey, thinking that, it was just a dream. Nothing has changed. Mm-hmm. There's no sand. The tape is in the same place. So Mark is obviously very aware of what Steven thinks. And assumedly, Mark, like, after that was all done, was like, I got to make sure that Steven, is taken care of. So I'm going to get him a new fish, because apparently the fish died because they didn't feed it for 3 days, I'm assuming. And then he like put more sand out, put the tape on the door, locked his foot on the thing, and then put Steven to bed. And you wonder why he thinks he needs to keep it secret from him. Like, is he trying to protect?
Well, he's the body.
Yeah, right. I know that.
He's the body. Mark is not the body.
Yes.
So Mark, you have to think of it that way. Like, the reason that he's going to all that trouble is because, whether it's from Khonshu or just from the trauma of needing to be existing.
Yeah.
Like, he has to set it back out like that, or he knows that, like,
if Steven wakes up in that random place,
is going to freak out, start to figure things out. And that was a big thing from this episode, is like, whether that was Khonshu or Mark saying, like, stop trying to figure this out. Stop following the thread.
Yeah. He's like, this is going to make you, and who knows, like, Steven is now experiencing all of this trauma, and from this trauma, could produce another altar.
Yeah, I think they want Khonshu and Mark and potentially other altars want to keep Steven in the dark because the more that he figures out about this, the more that he's going to try to get rid of them.
So are you're alluding to that that Steven is the body or Mark is the body?
Steven is the body.
Steven is the body. Okay, that's interesting.
Steven is the body. Mark is an altar.
So just if anybody missed our Moon Knight for Dummies episode, in the original, Mark was the body.
Yes, in the original, Mark is the base person.
Right.
But
so yeah, it'll be very interesting to find out where they go with this.
But I suppose even though they've led with Steven, that Mark could indeed be the body.
I think in my opinion,
I'm not sure they would have.
It would be very cool because it's a very clever way of doing a origin story because like it's as if his origin story has already happened and now this new alter Steven is finding out what his origin was, basically, is what it sounds like.
Because Mark is in the know with Khonshu, at least to some degree. So like he's not fazed by any of this. So when he tells Steven, give me control, it's like he's done this 1,000 times.
And the joke about good old that little child who is just like asked that really spooky question about like, yeah, like were you bummed when like your heart was judged and you didn't get to go through the reeds or whatever?
She asks if it sucked for Steven not being able to make it through the field of reeds.
Yeah, right. And it was just like, what a weird question to ask.
She's not who she is.
Yeah, that feels like it was not what was actually happening. But so but he said, well, he's like, I'm not dead. And then like before he gets cut off, he's like, am I? So I believe that, you know, he did die. Like Mark died. And then
Steven died
potentially. Yeah, and was brought back by Khonshu. So I think I'm more on the boat that it's like it was Mark's story, and then it became Steven's story because of, again, like in United States Terror, like them trying to. Yeah, I like that idea.
Well, and Mark is the one who experiences the trauma. If you want to even go down the route of PTSD,
yes,
assuming, and we have no idea yet that Mark's mercenary or origin story is the same, which we don't know what Mark.
I love that we did our research, but like when he was scrolling through the fucking flip phone and then we saw Duchamp's name, I was like, oh my god, the Frenchman! Oh, oui, I know what that is.
It was again, we'll remind you, was Mark's partner.
Right.
Yes.
In the comics, was Mark's one of his mercenary partners.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the only Easter egg in this episode.
Yeah, so that was cool. Is it like there wasn't a whole lot of like Marvel Easter eggs as we usually get in other shows? There was just like more like it was more like Egypt Easter eggs.
That's true. There is, however, a very giant one that I think. Well, I'll just say I was super giddy. It's all I've thought about since the episode ended.
What was it? I think I maybe missed
it.
it.
This European country he lands face down in.
Oh.
And you see the pan up. Mm-hmm. Well, first you see this cute little Bavarian village, and then you remember seeing this castle. You see this big old castle. I am putting my money on the table that this is Latveria.
Okay.
And that is the Doomstadt.
That's interesting.
Castle von Doom. And there are several other little things that make me think that. One being, so when he's driving I had to look this up. When he's driving the cupcake truck, he steals the cupcake truck. In the back, there's a box with the initials. Like it's I don't remember if it was Von. I think it was Von D.
Okay.
I think it said Von D on the box, Victor Von Doom, and it stood for something else. But I think look, there is no coincidences really in Marvel. There's Mr. X, yes, but that castle.
There are definitely Mr. X.
I mean, I just again, I got done reading Secret Wars and all of that, where Doom is at the center of it. This looks exactly like it.
Well,
and they have run-ins.
That
like,
be interesting?
I'm not saying Doom is going to show up in this series. I don't think he is, because
but they've just laid the groundwork there, and that's enough of it. Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is fine for me, especially like laying the groundwork like that. I do have to say, even though I love Easter eggs and I love how brilliant Marvel is at, tying everything all up in this beautiful little package, it's really fun to just like meet someone completely new and not have to worry about it, connecting to everything else.
Like Morbius, for instance.
No. Yeah.
No, you're so right. You're so right.
Yeah. That feels really nice to just be like, we can just focus on this and like, dissect this, because this is, mysterious and complex.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't really need all the other stuff to be interesting, because I'm already like,
oh, totally.
Man,
totally.
This emotionally and mentally complicated person going through this like, this insane experience. I'm very excited to see where it goes.
Well, and again, Oscar Isaac cited wanting to take this part because it reminded him of Iron Man and all the new possibilities, free of anything that came before it.
Oh, now, also, I didn't realize that he was an executive producer. So cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
But we do know eventually he will have to step into the wider Marvel canon, and I think an Easter egg like this, where nothing is said about it, and unless you're really looking for it, you don't know. But this is absolutely Latveria, and that is absolutely Victor Von Doom's castle.
You this wasn't really an Easter egg, but you could also say, they could easily tie up in a little bow, Kang's involvement, just because, like, in the, oh god, what do they call that in Loki? The place where they go to, where the, like, all of the random things are there, like, including the pyramids and the freaking Sphinx.
Oh,
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what they.
Did they even name it? I don't know.
It's like the purgatory. place.
Right.
Yeah.
Where they send all the Lokis.
I'm forgetting. Yeah.
But yeah. Just like Kang's involvement in allegedly in Egypt. Not saying that he's in this particular universe Egypt, but at least one of the Egypts in one of the universes.
Well, Ramatut.
Right.
Yes. There's a Kang variant, Ramatut, and you could absolutely, if you're trying to establish Kang as kind of the Thanos level presence, who's just kind of in the background, with this little fight between Khonshu and Ammit. I mean, why couldn't Ramatut be
if
hanging out?
What if? Oh my god! What if freaking Ramatut was the Ammit's avatar?
The god?
Yeah. Because remember they were talking about she had an avatar that
and it was Kang.
Yeah, what if it was Kang?
Ooh.
Or the Ramatut variant of Kang.
Oh.
That's interesting. That's fascinating.
Huh.
Sure.
Well, I mean, it even if that wasn't the case, it's like you said, I think it's easy to tie the bow that like Ramatut was involved with the Egyptian
gods
far-fetched way back in the day.
That would be an interesting little nugget to place there and never talk about it again.
Yeah, right.
Just be like, oh, okay, huh.
That's
but so that actually to kind of wrap this all up in a bow, it's the scene, and we talked about it very briefly with Harrow and Stephen in the museum, and when he tries to judge him, and
the scales are like
it doesn't work.
Cray.
Yeah,
the scales are going cray cray.
And he says there's chaos in you.
There's chaos in you, which in and of itself is
keywords.
Yeah, right. And if you don't know where we're going with this, chaos is the vernacular used to describe the magic within Wanda. It's
The
chaos.
red
She's a
magic.
master
Chaos
of
magic.
chaos magic.
There's chaos magic in you, Wanda.
I don't think that's coincidental necessarily.
Yeah, you can't. You don't use a word like that. Well, I guess you do. You can, because they don't. You know.
But this
chaos
goes
is
back to
just
this goes
also a regular word too. But
sure, and I think there's a double meaning there. I do think he
Yeah.
means chaos in that there's a complexity in you that
because
I
that is
did
also
not
legit.
foresee.
Yeah, the scales don't know how to read you.
How do I judge this
So-
person that's different
But-
people?
And the obvious answer is there is a god that has imbued you with power, and there's other people living within you. But that does go back to the question I asked at the beginning, is like what is going on within Stephen, and why is it so
What is
perplexing?
going-
Because Arthur Harrow is stunned that
Yeah.
Mhm.
this is the case, and it could simply be that
Well, and
he's not yet aware.
Yeah, he's definitely not aware, because when he shows up at the museum, he's like, "Oh,
Oh, you
you
actually
you
work
actually work here."
here. He's like,
There's
how,
like this moment where he's like,
how sad.
What is going on?
Yeah, and then
like,
he
and-
lets him go too, which I think is also interesting. He's just like, no, let him go. After he judges him, like I think it's so yeah. What do you think? What do you think his like he's like, I have a better use for you potentially. Is it like he's like his wheels are turning now because he can see that there's something that's very special about this like he maybe wants to like maybe I assume maybe he's not fully aware of the fact that he's the avatar of Khonshu. Maybe he's like, ooh, with the power of Khonshu and Ahmet, I would be unstoppable. Ooh, wee. I don't know. Do you think he has any other motivations for letting him go so early on? Like instead of just like, let's keep him under lock and key and then we'll figure things out.
I think it's a kind of let matters unfold. He's like, I don't quite understand
Let's
what's
see what
going on here,
comes.
and so let's just see where the pieces may
Let's let
fall.
him kill more
well,
of my men.
and he knows. Well, he knows that he can find him.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
it's not
Very
like
easily.
if I let him go, I'm never going to be able to find him again. He's
right.
like, yeah, there's something else going on here, but I'll be able to find him again. And also, I think I think maybe the scales thing, and maybe it's just the way that Ethan Hawke, responded to this, but I think it scared him.
So
Yeah.
you think,
think
that
it
maybe
scared
he's like in the terms of D&D, he's like lawful evil. He's like,
I
well,
don't
he's like
know
the
if I would
rules.
go-
The rules say if the scales don't go red, I'm not supposed to kill this person. So I gotta let him go.
Well, I don't
Those are the
know. I
rules.
don't know if I can speak on that yet. And
Yeah.
also, like, he's not the one that's doing the killing after the
Right. Well, I'm allegedly,
so we think so
are led
far.
to believe, yeah,
So I don't know if I don't know that I would be able to put him
in a category, yeah,
in a category yet.
yeah.
There are too many unknowns
Too
there.
many unknowns.
But yeah, I think that it was a series of things. One,
And he's
knows that
also
he
like,
can
wow, we
find
got
him.
5 more episodes to fill, so we gotta let him go now.
Yeah, I think he was spooked by the scales, and then
Yeah.
he was like, well, all right, I need to do
I need
some
to
more.
regroup.
I need to figure some things out, and I know that I'll be able to find him again.
Yeah, that's legit. I mean, it could very well just be as simple as like, what the hell? I need to go back and do some research.
Well, and I
Find out what I'm dealing with here.
wonder if we're going to see larger chunks of scene work with Khonshu in his
I hope
physical
so.
form, which was super
It was so cool.
So
creepy, terrifying. That hallway scene, which was in
Yikes.
the trailer, where he's in the elevator with all the lights
Mm-hmm.
It's a nightmare.
blinking on and off. I mean, it was a nightmare. And then
That was
sees him on the
scary,
bus,
and the
sees,
the poor
and the
old
killer
lady.
dog. The killer dog thing was scary.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
yeah, very mummy. It reminded me of the Mummy.
Oh,
And-
God, I saw this online and I can't remember. Again, can't remember. But somebody pointed out that in the gift shop, the when he's doing inventory with Douche Cakes McGee, there's a bunch of stuffed animals, and she's like, "Oh, this is the get the hippopotamus or whatever." Like, there's like basically 3 different animals: a hippopotamus, like an alligator, and
which is Amit. I mean, Amit
Yeah.
is comprised of those 3 animals.
yes. And so it's
Nice.
that's a cute little Easter.
So Amit
Easter.
has the
An
4
Egypt egg.
quarters, has the 4 quarters of a lion, the hind quarters of a hippopotamus, and the head of a crocodile.
Oh,
And if you ever studied
an alligator, a crocodile.
a crocodile, if you ever studied the Egyptian pantheon in elementary school or high school or whenever, you have seen pictures of Amit before. If you've never if you think you've never seen it, you probably
Yeah.
have seen her before.
He has
Interesting.
the
yeah,
tail of a
I-
crocodile.
oh no. Yeah, I want to see more of Conchu
Yeah,
because
I'm with an actor like that. Like
F. Murray Abraham.
we are
Come on now.
100% gonna get a lot more of that.
when he finds the Razor phone
Mhm.
hidden up in his apartment,
Did you have a razor? I had a razor.
I did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Mhm. So there's like a million missed calls from Layla, and then the one from
Layla.
Duchamp, which we mentioned. But
Now, do we remember Layla?
I think that Layla is possibly the Marlene.
Okay, like
character
just they
from
changed
the
the name.
comics. Mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, but because we did, yeah, I don't remember in our research
No,
Layla coming up.
no Laylas.
or Layla.
So, hmm
It's a new character or
well,
a
just
re-envisioned,
renamed.
re-envisioned. Because, yeah, who knows? They're like Marlene. Who's named Marlene these days?
There's Layla is way more.
Way more common.
mainstream.
Way more common.
Um,
Gosh, I'm sure there's a reason for it. We'll see.
Yeah, you never know.
You never
They
know.
they changed lots of character names in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Oh,
and,
sure, yeah.
You know, just kind of the way.
Yep.
This is the way.
Yeah. So lots of mystery, lots
So
of
much mystery.
questions going forward. But
I was gonna say that yeah, just go back. I need to go back and watch it again because like there's a ton of like, you know, again, not like super Easter eggy, but like super subtle cinematography work going on. Like I know that we like a lot of people already pointed out, like, you know, reflections in the mirrors, like not moving the same as, you know, Steven. But like just in that last scene alone, with him talking to himself, like seeing his reflection a bunch of different times, but in one of the reflections it was different. And then like all of a sudden there not being any reflection at all. There's just like lots of really cool, and that entire scene was like, well, at least it was made to look like it was one continuous shot, which I thought was really, really like clever. And I was like, I don't know how they're doing this. This was some cinematography magic. But oh yeah, there was a lot of there was a lot of mirror work going on. That one scene where he's talking to the golden statue guy. Like, you know, I mean, of course, I'm sure it wasn't really shot like that, at least the whole scene. But like as they were panning away, you're like, we're realizing that we're actually looking in the reflection as opposed to the real thing, which I think is potentially a like a wink and a nod, being like, this might not be
a parallel to the
we're not
actual
looking at what's really
situation.
real. This is a reflection of what's real. Yeah. Anyway.
indeed.
Well, that was episode 1.
That was it.
This is
I
episode
mean,
1. Wow.
that was kind of scattered and all over the place. So sorry if you had trouble.
But that's the way the show is
following
going to
along
be,
with
so.
that.
Yeah.
So-
I mean,
That's literally the show.
we're experiencing it together.
Uh-huh.
But I'm in.
Very
Like, this is-
in. Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. This feels
We got to wait until Wednesday.
really like, you know, the mystery horror element of the comics, which we have not gotten to really see.
And
in
I don't
MCU,
think
so.
I got zero Batman vibes.
No, the only vibes I get are his brutality with his fists.
Yeah, probably right.
I mean, you could see parallels probably in how he fights, maybe, but
I didn't even think about it.
He's a killer, so it's just, I mean, it's.
I honestly didn't even think about it until now, but I mean, that may be why they changed Stephen Grant's character too, because that might be the biggest Batman vibe of all. The fact that he's just like this millionaire,
Yeah, I just don't. As we talked about last week, I just don't. Whoever made that parallel is wrong.
You're an idiot.
It's not there. So
but we'll
other
see.
than that, I don't know. Yeah. So we hope that you all enjoyed Moon Knight episode 1.
I hope that you enjoyed it too.
We certainly did, and we'll be back next week for episode 2.
Oh baby.
So come along on this
Won't you?
very interesting journey with us.
Yes, interesting.
Yes, interesting. This is Inside the Tauntaun, a podcast in the multiverse of fandom. I'm Alyssa Simmons.
And I'm Daniel Dawson.
I'm Dino Nicandros.
May the force be with you.
Always.
Inside the Tauntaun podcast, please like and subscribe.